Hello, Super Sire listeners. I am Super Sire Boy, and welcome to the potential very first Super Sire podcast. Um, I was just sitting in my room. I was recording things to help my friend Elizabeth with a project she's working on, and I finished, and I was like, well, you know what? I'm sitting here. I have this audio stuff set up. Why don't I just, I just got the random idea to just do a podcast. Partly inspired by my friend Gracie in chorus. She did her own podcast, and I thought that was really cool. So I'm stealing her idea and I'm making it my own. Just kidding. You should listen to her podcast. It's called Shut Up Gracie. If you're watching this, you probably go to my school, so you should listen to what she has to say. I think it's cool to listen to someone just on the local level who I think that's just a really cool thing. So yeah, I just figured I could just get on here, talk about stuff in my life, because I mean pretty much all I do all day is just kind of think about the past and past stories. People probably think I'm quiet all the time, but really I'm just conversating with myself like a crazy person. Um, yeah. So yeah. Plus, I've also always wanted to do one of those like animated storytime videos. I know those aren't too popular anymore, but who knows? Maybe I can animate some of these episodes or little excerpts or whatever. Let's just see what happens. Um, if this even gets posted or whatever. So yeah, I have the whole theming going on. The YouTube channel Super Sire Boy. So you know, Super Sire Podcast, Super Sire listeners, all that good stuff. So yeah. So today I'm gonna just talk about some stories from when I was a little youngin. Cause I don't know. I guess it's what I think about a lot. Being younger, being a tiny little guy. Um. So yeah, I'm just gonna talk about some of those old stories. I consider myself to be pretty tech savvy, but that wasn't always the case. When I was younger, and I mean like this is when Google Plus was still a thing. It was actually a couple years before it died, but what? It was around 2015, 2014, 2015. What was I? Second grade? Yeah, second grade because I had just gotten a Google account. Around the same time I made the YouTube channel. Um, I had just gotten a Google account, and I was so excited to, just be on the internet and have like my own account to hold my things. So, one of the first things I did, I saw after I made a YouTube channel, I saw this thing called Google Plus. And I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And I clicked on it, and it just was like, "Make an account." And the funniest part about Google Plus was that it just lets you fill in like everything. Like it's kind of insane. Like I don't even know what they were wanted it to be. Like it had slots for like I mean your birthday, that's normal. But it had like the school you went to, where you work, your phone number. Like it was insane. Like you could just fill in everything. And of course, me being like what, 5, 6 at the time, 7, I just went ahead. I was like, okay, I guess we'll just fill in all these boxes. I just literally filled in with the elementary school I went to, just everything. It was actually I think it was first grade. I think it was in the first grade. But yeah, and then I was like, oh well, I'm finished setting up my account, and then I went about my day. I think I got busted because I went and I was like, "Hey mom, Hey mom, look at this. I made a Google Plus account. And she was like, why did you tell these people everything? They're gonna come and snatch you up. So she got really mad and she made me shut it down. But it's okay because Google Plus died in like 2 years after that anyways. Honestly, when I was in like elementary school, it stopped like almost immediately once I got into middle school, but all of elementary school, my relationship, I guess, with being online kind of fluctuated a lot because yeah, until I got into middle school, I couldn't watch like anything with like curse words or anything. But just for some reason, I kept because I mean on YouTube, I like to watch gameplay videos. I like to watch people do the stuff I'm into, right? But I mean, all most of the good stuff, most of the good gameplay videos on YouTube has some swearing in it. So I mean, pretty much all it was relegated to was like Zach Scott games. I was like the only guy that didn't like make me cringe that didn't curse. So I was like, okay, I'll just watch that forever until I'm like 12. But there was some times when, there was like, I had to get, I must have gotten banned from watching gameplay videos specifically, like once it had to be like 3 times. And then I think my parents just did it out of like annoyance. Like they were annoyed that I was just watching it so much. Cause I'd ask them in like 2 months. I'd be like, "Can I watch this gameplay video? Can I watch this Zach Scott games?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, sure, why not? Whatever." So I think they really just did that because it was getting on their nerves. Just hear, "Hey, what's up, guys? Zach Scott games here." But then there was other times I just acted stupid, even though I knew better. Like, um, there was one day I got into watching the Game Grumps play Sonic 3, which I don't know why, because the Game Grumps hate Sonic, and I love Sonic. But yeah, so I don't know why I wanted to watch that, but that was a thing. Um, but I knew they cursed. The Game Grumps curse a lot, but like, and I was watching it on my laptop by myself all day when my parents weren't around. But for some reason, I thought it was a good idea to go into the like while everyone was getting dinner ready to go into the into the main room, like the living room next to the dining room, on the main computer and just watch it at like near max volume and just I guess just hope that for some reason they would just not curse for the next like 10 minutes. Obviously they did, and I got in a lot of trouble. Now that I think about it, I think it's like the last time I ever really got in trouble for anything, to be honest. So yeah, that was like my last stupid moment. I mean, I could really go on forever about like just random moments that happened in my childhood. Like, there was that time I got stuck in like a super small, or not stuck. I mean, there was this time I got lost from my parents in this like 2 aisle shoe carnival. That's a story I've always wanted to tell for a while. Basically, when was this? I was definitely like 8. Yeah. I was like 8, 10, that range. And we're just, in the shoe carnival. And the layout is they have the kids' shoes and the men's shoes on either side of the store. And then there's just like a huge middle section, right? And I literally just walked away from my parents for like 2 seconds and just look at the little, because they had like a basketball hoop. So if I remember correctly, I just went over there to just like check that out, throw some hoops. And then I'm like, wait, where's my parents? Mind you, the shoe carnival is like so tiny, but I was just such a small little guy, so it took me so long to get across the aisle. and basically we just kept missing each other from behind each wall. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, I lost my parents." And it was low key pretty embarrassing. Even at the time, I knew it was pretty embarrassing because I was like, "How did I lose them?" This shoe garden is so small. How did I lose my parents? But I just went up to the lady at the counter and she was like, "There's a kid up here that's lost." She was a nice she was a nice young lady though. She helped me out. It was nice. So, okay. Here's two probably of like the oldest stories I have. Um I think one of these it's a pretty short story cuz it was just like a sudden incident and I don't really remember what happened before that. But one of the other one is like probably the old story I have that I can like remember in like almost full detail. Just 'cause it was such a moment in my life. Um, but they're both like they're like, yeah, they're like sort of funny stories. But. So the first one, like the oldest one, if I'm remembering correctly, I was either in kindergarten or I wasn't in school yet. I'm pretty sure I wasn't in school yet because we still had a VHS player. It was actually pretty funny. There was like when I was in like super early elementary school, we actually had like a it was like a Disney themed VHS player. If I had to guess, I think my mom told me where she got it from before, but I don't remember. But if I had to guess, she probably got it from um when she used to teach kindercare, like pre-K. She got a lot of like little things that they were gonna throw away that they didn't need anymore. Like you used to have one of those old colorful iMacs, like those big like blobs with the colors on them. Um, I think I broke that, but I remember having some good times on that. And although wait, I think we just bought the VHS player, something like that. We had a VHS player. We had like two Sesame Street tapes, a Monsters Inc. tape. Yeah. Why did I bring that up again? Oh, to put you in the time frame. Right. So I'm pretty sure this was before I was even in school. Um, we were at the gym in our apartment complex that we have moved out of, but have since moved back in the past year. Um, has it been 2 years? Have I lived here for 2 years? No. Wait. Oh my gosh, it has almost been 2 years. Yeah, oh my gosh, it's almost been 2 years. That's crazy. Anyway, um, yeah. Wow, I just lost my train of thought. We were at the gym in our apartment complex, and everyone was just exercising and stuff. And me being the curious kid I am, I mean, uh, my dad will tell you he was just like this when he was a kid. We both love to just like kind of look at things and see how they work, and just we're very curious people, right? Um, and me being like 3, 4, 5, one of those numbers, probably four. Um, I inspect the. I think the only way this makes sense is if my dad was on the treadmill, or like my sister, or one of them was on the treadmill. Obviously, I'm too young to be on the treadmill or any of the equipment, but they can't just leave me behind, so here I am. And I'm just like, wow, look at that little belt. Look at how fast it runs. And I go to just like look at how it works. I go to poke my finger. All of a sudden my finger is stuck under the dang treadmill, under the treadmill. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Yeah. Fun fact, I actually still have the scar from that. Um, I'm sure no one's ever inspected my fingers. But yeah, if you look at my left middle finger, there's like a weird like warping situation going on there. That's what that from. That's what that's from. It still has not healed to this day. 12 years later, which that's pretty cool, right? Um, yeah. So be safe, kids. Unless you want a really cool scar. Anyways, other story. Um, other story. This is when we still were living here. This is like 2 years later. I'm in first grade. See, you can tell I vividly remember the details of this one. Uh, First grade, my 6th birthday, I got my first bike. It was awesome, but uh, my mom doesn't like me going. Didn't like me when I was younger. My mom didn't want me going outside too much, or like she didn't want me going too far from the house. And I was also scared because I also didn't really know how to ride the. That's actually pretty weird. I had a bike, but I could not ride because I had to relearn how to ride a bike like a couple years later. That's weird. It must have been like a. It had training wheels. That's what it was. It had training wheels. Now I remember. So yeah. So instead, I was just like, this is the weirdest story ever. But I used to like almost. Well, I only did this one time, but I like rode it around. Like I drove the bike in circles around our dining room table, and then every time I made a lap, I would eat a piece of chocolate cake. It was I don't know what I was doing that day and why I was able to do it for so long with no one intervening, because that's the most insane thing you've ever heard. But yeah, but one time, this had to be like a couple days after. Um, Me and my mom and my sister, I was on the, like they were having me go on the bike around the area, right? And we go onto this like this area that it goes down to the gym, which honestly, now that we live here again, is there oh no, there is like a natural walkway there. Okay, that makes sense as to how the bike got there. But yeah, we're walking in there, we're heading down to that area where the gym was. And I go down I just go speeding down the, the hill, and I can't stop. Like I'm too scared to brake. My mom was my mom and my sister. They were like, "Brake, sire, brake, brake." I was like, "Oh no!" And there was like a tree in the middle, like going off into two paths, and I just couldn't. I just froze to turn, so I just kind of rammed right into a tree. Um, yeah, and just kind of scratched up my arm. Um, yeah, I don't have that scar anymore, but I did for like 2 years, 3 years. I had that for a while, but yeah. The funny part of that story, I was convinced for years. Like, whenever that story came back up, my sister was like, "That hill was not steep at all. Like, I don't know what you were so scared of." And I was like, "No, it was like it was a steep hill. It was a steep hill." But now that we live here again, I walk down that hill to go to the bus every day, and I'm like, this really was not. Well, no, no, it wasn't that steep. It wasn't as steep as it felt when I was a little kid. But I mean, it's a little steep. Like when you walk down, it's kind of bumpy. But I also kind of walk weird, so that might be why. Yeah, 20 minutes. Oh my gosh. Ooh, okay. I just thought about it a little bit more. I have one more story. This is actually a middle school story. Um, this one actually is really funny. If you didn't find the last two funny, because it was like, oh my gosh, the little kid got hurt. You'll definitely find this one funny. No child violence included. PG for the whole family. It's just kind of it's kind of insane. So we all remember COVID, right? That was a fun time in everyone's life. We were all indoors. Nothing got done for like a year and a half. It was great. And I loved it. I didn't, but yeah. So this is in 7th grade, online school. I actually didn't mind online school that much. Um, the fact that it was 7th grade probably was like the worst thing to happen ever, because I kind of missed out on like learning all of my social skills for years. Um, well, not years. I mean, it just took longer to develop. I probably, I'd say I like 10th grade was like what my 7th grade was supposed to be. Like now I'm a lot better at talking and whatever, but it just took a while to build that back up. Like I was a middle schooler for like a year longer than I should have been, like uh mentally, right? So, 7th grade online school, I didn't mind it because I got to not have school lunch and have my mom's great cooking instead. Um, basically, wait, let me think about it. Hold on. I'm gathering the story in my head. Math class, right? Not to brag, but I've always been pretty good at math. I mean, I don't remember how I did in elementary school math. I remember doing pretty good, but I took target in elementary school, so I was already like ahead on like algebra and stuff. So in middle school and even still in like high school, I just kind of am able to understand it a bit more and like logic my way through it. So yeah, but I have a very, you know, they kind of changed the way, like the way I learned was from my parents mostly, like the very basic stuff, like like carry the one, yada yada yada, that sort of stuff. Um, and I don't remember, they in elementary school they did some weird system to make like the carrying the one and whatever you did for subtraction, like they made those into one thing, but it was like so much more complicated. Yeah. Every time they try to change how they teach math, it gets more complicated. That's my Mr. Incredible rant. But anyways, um we are in 7th grade. Wow. I take a long time to talk about these stories I'm learning. 7th grade math, we're learning about integers and negative numbers. I have known about negative numbers since the last day of kindergarten. It's such a specific memory. That's honestly the earliest memory I have. Is coming home on the last day of kindergarten, freaking Wander Over Yonder on the TV over there, Disney XD, and my dad just randomly taught me about negative numbers, and I didn't come back into play for another 7 years. So thanks, Dad. I was ahead of everyone for a long time. Um, this sounds like me bragging about my math, but I swear it isn't. The story's funny. Just chill. Just chill. so so we're learning about integers, negative numbers, and I can't remember what it was. Some weird system the teacher was like telling us about on how to do like like how to change them into negative numbers, and I was just like, you can just do it like the normal way. Like I can't remember. It's such a funny story. It's like if I knew every detail, it would be like so much better. But yeah, I was like, you can just do it like that way instead and get there so much easier. Like she had like this whole system and formula to get there, and this is on level math, right? They kept me in on level for a long time, and I'm like, this would be so much easier for everyone to get if you just did it this very simple way that yeah, right? Whole time didn't realize my mic is on. my my mic is online, and she's like, "Oh, sorry, do you not get it?" And I'm like, "Oh crap, my mic was on." So I'm embarrassed, and I'm like, I mean, like I just don't get like the way you're doing it. Like I know what you did. I didn't say that though. I just said like, yeah, sure, I don't get it. Like I don't get how you did it. And then she like explained it again. I still don't really get how she did it, but I still know how to do it. This is so much more hard to talk about without me knowing like what exactly it was. But it's just like getting to negative like adding negative numbers. That's what it was about. Cause man, that class was actually kind of embarrassing. Like we ended up having to go back over how to add things. That was such a wow. Seventh grade, man. That was COVID. Seventh grade is such an experience. But yeah, the teacher is like, do you not get it, sire? And me being embarrassed, I'm like, oh yeah, like I don't get like the way your method. And then she explains it again. I still don't really get it. And then my dad, who's like editing like some project like in the room, like across the room, he's like, oh, you understand something, sire? And I was like, well, I don't like no, like I get, but I just don't get how she did it. And then somehow it ended up in my sister teaching me how to add and like I basically got gaslit into relearning how to add and subtract. Like the whole class just made me stupider to the point where I ended up relearning how to add and subtract with negative numbers, and I just ended up going along with it. At some point I forgot that I already knew how to do it. And I was like my mom or wow, my sister made a whole like game show, like Jeopardy game show out of it. And it was just so fun that I totally forgot that I basically knew how to do this already. It was just, man. I want to go back to middle school. I don't. Because well, I miss middle school. I don't know if I would do it again. Not gonna lie. Just because, um, yeah. Some of the teachers, 8th grade specifically, was like the worst time for me. Not the worst time. Well, I was a little depressed. But I mean, who cares about that, right? I was just kind of a sad kid. Um, how long have I been going for? 28 minutes. Wow. Yeah, like there were teachers I didn't like two of them. It was just a whole thing. I just thought about it all the time. It's like I don't like it's always the math class cuz the math class was my only on-level class. So it was all the kids that I didn't really belong with, like the kids that don't understand math, but they're all so loud and rowdy cuz, but I'm not like that. So it was just a whole thing of like, oh, like I don't like these kids very well. I mean, it's not that I didn't like them. It was more just like I don't like the amount of noise these kids make. Like I don't just like them as people. They just make so much noise, and that's annoying. But the teacher is also crazy uptight, so I don't really like her that much. But at the same time, it's like I empathize with you because these kids are annoying, and you look like 78, 100, so you're gonna have a heart attack and die if you have to deal with this anymore. So it's like, you know. But yeah, and also music classes kind of sucks in middle school because no one really know what they were doing. Um, so yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that I do both orchestra and chorus, I would have been so far behind in either one of them by the time I got to high school, and it would have been really sad. But luckily, being both kind of got me to the skill level I was supposed to be at. So I ended up turning out fine on that front. But yeah, it's been nice talking with you guys. Um, this is just a way for me to just kind of ramble. So thanks for listening to the very first episode of the Super Sire Podcast. See you, Super Sire listeners. Bye.